Hi, John Harper here. This video is a follow-up Q&C that addresses a student's question from a previous video, which will be in the link in the description below. And the major focus of the student's question is around control. So I'm going to share a couple of insights to help us move through this labyrinth of the ego control issue, and a specific example of the relative being a bridge to the real that may open things up a bit for us as well. So here's the student's follow-up comment and question. I have had a little over a month to reflect on your video. The points on value have opened something up for me. There is also an issue of control for me, wanting to be in control and wanting to take in value from the outside to support my ego ideal of being a good person, and wanting to be seen as a good person and have this confirmed. I am unsure if I can clarify my feelings more, but the video response has been touching and helpful. And in response to my question in that video of how do you see this style of working, I see it as directionless in a way, and more open than I want it to be. Inquiry can be unsettling for me personally, as I am not in control of the unfolding of my process much at times. My mind cannot stay one step ahead as it wants to, as I want to. Control, control, control. There isn't a moment in life where ego's in control. I mean, right now, this moment. What makes you think you're in control? Control is one of the all-time favorite dance tunes for the ego and superego. It's a medley. It keeps changing from moment to moment. You can never nail it down and respond in a way that's just going to shut the whole thing up. I'll get back to control in a minute. But wanting to be seen in any way, shape, or form usually has issues around lack of good enough mirroring in our childhood. So that's one area of inquiry that can open up, looking at that situation in our early environment. And as far as the diamond approach being directionless, well, true. It's as directionless as you can be. It's directionless for the student personally, because the student is the key to the whole process of unfolding and unraveling. Each soul is unique. And so it is actually that individual soul that is unraveling and blossoming in their unique way. Nobody can direct that. The process is looking at that, bringing attention to what's happening in the moment and being with what unfolds. You can't control it. I mean, why would we want to control it? I get that, the ego has safety and survival issues around it, but the blooming is a miracle that you can't anticipate. It can't anticipate. And as a teaching and a methodology, the diamond approach is just wide open. It's like it sits at the center of a hub, and any road that opens up to anywhere and everywhere, you can get on that and follow it. So let's just be clear. The ego wanting to be one step ahead, I mean, that's every ego's wish. Never going to happen. Not possible. So, what to do, what to do, what to do. And here are a couple of insights that may help us along. Hamid has said time and time again over the years that The ego just needs to relax. And there's some good advice for you. Man, kick back, relax. You know? Well, let's just take that as like an underlying premise of truth. The ego needs to relax. But we can't run out there and do relaxation at that level. So let's not even attempt to go down that, false road. But the ego does need to relax. And how can that process happen? So we can help that process along by having insight number one on our side, which is the more effort that we put into trying to control things from the ego's perspective, the tighter things get. It's like one of those Chinese handcuffs. The more you struggle, you can't get out, where if you just relax, it just comes right off. So we can shift the focus and attention from trying to be one step ahead to the process of understanding itself. Our minds like to understand. Our egos love understanding because they think it gives it more control. But to really understand means opening up the process of understanding to its diamond roots. And we need to do that. We need to open up all of our data streams. And we've been running on a pretty closed system of just a few concepts, a few things we've read, a few little pieces of past history or something. We need to open up our data stream of our body's intelligence, our data stream of our heart and our affect centers data stream. We need to open up not only our conceptual mind, but we need to allow our brilliancy and insight and synthesis to open up. We need to open up the entire timeline. We need to open up the entirety of our history, and we need to open up space. It's a very, very big data stream, our relationship with space and the more data streams we open up, it's like one of those solar collectors out in the middle of the desert. You got all these mirrors focusing all that energy on this tower, and the power that comes down that thing is just tremendous. And that's what we want to do. The more we open up those data streams, the more engaged we get in actually understanding what's going on with us. And the more understanding there is, the more we start to relax. And there's another thing that comes online during all that process, and I'll just get to that in a second. The other insight is that there are two essential qualities that are critical to this whole thing, and those are love and trust. And the way to nurture love and trust, one of the easiest ways, is in the student-teacher relationship. The more we trust the teacher, the more we relax. The more that we see that the teacher is motivated by love, the more we relax. The more that we can relax, the more we're touched by the trust, the more we're touched by the love. And those elements and presence working on us are what will ultimately relax the ego and resolve this whole thing about control. And there's a way we can do this in a psychical way that makes it easy on us. You take just a little gamble with the teacher. You reveal something, a little something. Not a big something, just a little something. And then you do some reality testing to see are you still breathing? Did the ego's worst fears come true? Did everybody leave you? Are you all alone now? Whatever it is. And so you want to take that reality testing and you want to kind of practice with it in life. Oh, this happened. I can do this. I can step out just a little bit. Step out just a little bit. And the more that we do that, the more it becomes integrated. And as that integration happens, then we take another little inch forward with the teacher. So we're doing this cyclical thing of gambling, reality testing, integrating, and then moving forward. And what all that's going to help us to do with the teacher is to land 100% in this footstep instead of trying to be ahead of this footstep. And all of our resources will be lit up to see reality as it is right now. And now let's come back to the solar array. When our resources start coming online, when those data streams open up, the power, the sense of power that arises in our consciousness is unbelievable. And that power is us. We are extremely powerful in our awareness and focus and attention. You know, our baud rate, I don't know, do people know baud rate anymore? The way that the speed at which we process information is off the chart. We are one incredibly powerful processing, lit up piece of consciousness. And that, compared to the little thing that wants to know the next step, there's no comparison, you know? And that power, that is us. When we're feeling that power, the thing that's least on our mind is knowing what the next step is, because there's nothing that can harm us. There's nothing in our way. What's there in front of us is what we want to know. We want to get in there, open it up more, know more. You know, rejoice in the revelation that's happening. Let's talk about the ego ideal as a bridge to the real. Oh, in this comment, student mentions the ego ideal of being a good person. The ego ideal is based upon idealized perfection from the conceptual mind, which ego uses as a carrot and superego uses as a stick. Well, we all know, at least conceptually, that ego can't recreate the real. The real underlies all attempts to replicate it. The attempt to replicate it is a reflection of the real. So what does the ego ideal reflect? You ever wondered about that? The ego ideal reflects the fundamental truth that reality is perfect. I mean, think about it. We have this ego ideal of trying to get perfection, and we know a little bit about it. We see a few little things, but it's kind of vague. We can't kind of encapsulate it all, and we can't cover every base, which leaves us open to the superego's tyranny. And the reason that we can't do that, or the ego mind can't do it, is that perfection is beyond the capacity of ego mind to contain it. It's a reflection of the real. It's a statement that perfection does exist, but it's not perfection according to any standard. It isn't based upon here's less perfection and here's more perfection. This perfection is of a totally different dimension of reality. The same as being a good person. What does that reflect? Ultimately, it reflects you are good. The soul, the individual consciousness, reality is fundamentally good. And the ego has lost touch with the perfection and with the goodness, and it's working like crazy to recreate it. Well, it can't recreate it because it already is. Job is done. But we can use that information. We can use that insight that the ego ideal is a reflection of the real to help us bridge that gap and recreate or reconnect with reality. And the way we know that, We have ego and superego dancing in an attempt to recreate creation that already is. It's a riot of mass confusion and ignorance. But knowing that the ego ideal is a reflection of the real and therefore a bridge to the real can serve us in a couple of ways. One is we can know this conceptually to help us to allow our attention and awareness to look through and beyond the relative. It's like in the movies when you see the witch or the wizard and they're looking into the pool or the crystal ball and they're just gazing and things are revealed. And that's what we can do. It takes nothing more than seeing. We can look right into that ego ideal. And if we know that it is just a pale reflection, but it's an attempt to give us the real thing, we relax and look into that, things can open up. Amazing things can open up. And then there's that point about, the real is beyond the measuring stick. And so when the comparison comes in, to know that that's a red herring. That is something that is just trying to distract us and keep us bound in this dynamic inertia, running after something that leads nowhere. Again, open up the process of understanding. Look into the relative as a bridge to the real. Allow all of those data streams that are part of your organism, your consciousness, to open up and come online. And as they come online, that empowering thing that happens is just a natural thing. You don't have to do anything. It just builds and builds. And let that cut through everything and see what you see. So I think that's it for now. Drop me a comment or a question. Let's continue this. Not only this student, everyone. Join in, the more the merrier. Let's see where this whole thing leads.